Spiritual intelligence offers a more holistic perspective that recognizes interconnectedness and approaches problems from a place of meaning and purpose. Have you ever felt a subtle inner guidance that transcended logical reasoning? Perhaps in a crucial life decision, a moment of stillness revealed clarity that no amount of analysis could provide. This is no coincidence. You've experienced a glimpse of your spiritual intelligence. In our fast-paced world where analytical thinking and emotional reactions dominate, we've neglected our most profound source of wisdom. Spiritual intelligence isn't mystical or religious. It's a fundamental human capacity that remains largely untapped in modern life. While we've cultivated our IQ to solve problems and our EQ to navigate relationships, this third dimension of intelligence offers something even more essential: the ability to access meaning, purpose, and wisdom that transcends ordinary thinking. Imagine having an internal compass that consistently guides you toward choices aligned with your deepest values. Picture yourself responding to life's challenges with clarity and wisdom rather than reactivity. This isn't wishful thinking. It's the practical outcome of developing your spiritual intelligence. Throughout this audiobook, we'll explore proven techniques to quiet external noise and connect with your inner wisdom. You'll discover how to recognize spiritual intelligence in everyday moments and develop practices that strengthen this innate capacity. Whether you're facing personal challenges, seeking greater purpose, or simply wanting to live with more authenticity, the principles shared here will illuminate the path toward activating the hidden power already within you. Our journey begins with understanding what spiritual intelligence truly is, not as an abstract concept, but as a tangible resource waiting to be awakened in your life. Chapter 1. Understanding Spiritual Intelligence. What if your greatest source of wisdom isn't your accumulated knowledge or emotional awareness, but something more fundamental, an intelligence that connects you to the deepest dimensions of human experience? While you've likely heard of IQ and EQ, spiritual intelligence represents the next frontier in understanding human potential. Spiritual intelligence, sometimes called SQ, is our capacity to access higher meanings, deeper values, and transcendent awareness beyond intellectual or emotional intelligence. It's the foundation that allows you to live authentically, make meaningful decisions, and experience profound connection with yourself and others. Unlike religious affiliation, which involves adherence to specific belief systems, spiritual intelligence is universal, a natural human capacity accessible to everyone regardless of faith tradition or philosophical outlook. Consider how these three dimensions of intelligence work together. IQ helps you process information and solve logical problems. EQ enables you to understand and manage emotions in yourself and others. But SQ provides the meaning and purpose that guides how you apply both. Without spiritual intelligence, you might excel academically or navigate social situations skillfully, yet still feel something essential is missing. Neuroscience reveals fascinating insights about spiritual intelligence. Researchers have identified what some call the God spot, or God module, in the temporal lobes, which activates during spiritual experiences. More significant is the discovery that during deep meditation or spiritual practice, our brains exhibit integrated neural oscillations across multiple regions, effectively creating a more unified consciousness. This suggests spiritual intelligence isn't merely subjective experience, but has measurable neurological correlates. Why does this matter in today's world? We face unprecedented complexity. Technological advancement, environmental challenges, social fragmentation, and information overload. Traditional problem-solving approaches prove insufficient because they address symptoms rather than root causes. Spiritual intelligence offers a more holistic perspective that recognizes interconnectedness and approaches problems from a place of meaning and purpose. You've likely experienced moments when spiritual intelligence guided you, perhaps when facing an ethical dilemma, a life transition, or when finding unexpected meaning in adversity. These moments weren't coincidental. They were glimpses of your innate capacity for deeper wisdom. Developing spiritual intelligence doesn't require adopting specific beliefs. Instead, it involves cultivating awareness, asking meaningful questions, and being receptive to insights that transcend ordinary thinking. The practices we'll explore throughout this audiobook will help you recognize and strengthen this intelligence in practical ways. As we conclude this foundational understanding, consider that spiritual intelligence isn't something you need to acquire. It's already within you, waiting to be acknowledged and developed. In our next chapter, we'll explore how self-awareness serves as the essential gateway to accessing this profound inner resource. Chapter 2, Self-Awareness, the gateway to spiritual intelligence. When was the last time you truly looked inward, beyond your thoughts and emotions, to understand what drives your choices and shapes your life? Most people move through their days on autopilot, rarely pausing to examine the deeper currents of their existence. Yet self-awareness is the foundation upon which spiritual intelligence is built. Self-awareness in the spiritual sense extends far beyond simply knowing your preferences or recognizing your emotional reactions. It involves recognizing your deepest values, beliefs, and motivations. The fundamental forces that drive your actions and decisions, even when you're not consciously aware of them. Without this awareness, you remain at the mercy of unconscious conditioning, unable to access your authentic wisdom. Think of self-awareness as a spotlight that illuminates previously hidden aspects of yourself. When you shine this light inward with courage and curiosity, you begin to see patterns that have shaped your life for years, perhaps decades. You might discover values instilled during childhood that no longer serve you, or recognize how certain experiences have created defensive patterns that limit your growth. This recognition creates the possibility of choice where before there was only automatic reaction. Developing deep self-reflection begins with creating regular space for introspection. Start with just 5 minutes daily of sitting quietly, asking yourself, what am I feeling right now? What deeper needs or values are these feelings pointing toward? Over time, extend these periods and deepen your inquiry. What patterns do I notice in my reactions? What core beliefs are driving my choices? Journal writing proves particularly powerful for this practice, as seeing your thoughts on paper creates valuable distance and perspective. Another essential aspect of self-awareness involves recognizing your unique strengths and limitations. We often have blind spots about both our gifts and our weaknesses. Ask trusted friends what qualities they most value in you. Their answers might surprise you and reveal capacities you've overlooked. Similarly, notice which situations consistently challenge you, as these often point to areas needing attention and development. Self-awareness also encompasses understanding how you impact others and the world around you. Each action creates ripples of influence extending far beyond your immediate perception. Practice observing these effects without judgment. Notice how your words affect conversations, how your presence changes group dynamics, how your choices contribute to larger systems. This broader awareness connects your individual journey to the collective experience. Daily practices that cultivate self-awareness need not be complicated. The ancient practice of examen involves briefly reviewing your day each evening, noting moments when you felt most alive and most drained, then asking what these patterns reveal about your authentic path. Mindfulness meditation develops your capacity to observe thoughts and emotions without being controlled by them. Even simple body awareness, pausing several times daily to notice physical sensations, can ground you in present reality rather than mental projections. As your self-awareness deepens, you'll begin noticing subtle internal signals that previously went undetected. Intuitive nudges, physical sensations that indicate alignment or discord with your values, and moments of clarity that arise spontaneously when you're connected to your authentic center. These signals represent the initial stirrings of spiritual intelligence becoming accessible in your daily experience. The journey towards self-awareness requires both courage and compassion. You'll inevitably encounter aspects of yourself that feel uncomfortable, old wounds, limiting beliefs, patterns of behavior that no longer serve you. Approaching these discoveries with gentle curiosity rather than harsh judgment creates the conditions for genuine transformation. With deepening self-awareness as our foundation, we're now prepared to explore how vision and values provide the framework for living from spiritual intelligence. The clarity you gain through knowing yourself becomes the compass that guides you toward authentic purpose and meaning. Chapter 3: Vision and Value-Led Living. Imagine standing at the helm of a powerful ship without a destination or compass. No matter how impressive the vessel, you drift aimlessly at the mercy of prevailing winds and currents. Similarly, without a clear vision guided by deep values, even the most talented and resourceful individuals find themselves moving through life without true direction. Living from spiritual intelligence requires more than self-awareness. It demands a compelling vision aligned with your authentic values. Vision and value-led living represents the practical application of spiritual intelligence in daily life. It transforms abstract awareness into concrete choices that create a life of meaning and integrity. When your actions consistently align with your deepest values and aspirations, you experience a profound sense of coherence and purpose that transcends temporary happiness or achievement. Discovering your life purpose begins with exploring questions that reveal what matters most to you. What activities make you lose track of time? What injustices or problems in the world most deeply affect you? What would you regret not having done if your life ended unexpectedly? Notice that authentic purpose rarely emerges from logical analysis, but rather from paying attention to what consistently energizes and calls to you. Your purpose doesn't need to be grandiose. It might be as simple as creating beauty, nurturing growth in others, or bringing clarity to complex situations. Creating a vision that encompasses your highest values requires looking beyond immediate goals to the quality of life and contribution you wish to embody. Rather than focusing solely on what you want to achieve or acquire, ask yourself, who do I want to become? What qualities do I want to develop and express? How do I wish to affect others and the world around me? Your answers form the foundation of a vision that will sustain you through challenges and guide your choices in uncertain times. The real challenge lies in integrating this vision into everyday decisions and actions. Begin by identifying one value that feels particularly important to you right now, perhaps integrity, compassion, creativity, or courage. For the next week, make this value your focal point, asking before each significant decision, what would it look like to honor this value in this situation? Notice how this simple practice brings clarity to choices that might otherwise be clouded by convenience or social pressure. We inevitably encounter obstacles to living our values consistently. External pressures from work, relationships, and social expectations can pull us toward compromise. Internal barriers, fear, doubt, conflicting desires, can create hesitation or inconsistency. Recognize that these challenges don't indicate failure, but rather opportunities to deepen your commitment. When you notice yourself straying from your values, approach the situation with curiosity rather than judgment, asking what need you are trying to meet and how you might honor that need while staying aligned with your deeper values. The paradox of vision and value-led living is that while it provides clear direction, it also requires flexibility in implementation. Your vision serves as the North Star, a consistent reference point, while the specific path toward it may take unexpected turns. Spiritual intelligence includes discerning when to hold firmly to your direction and when to adapt your approach based on changing circumstances and deepening understanding. As you align your daily choices with your vision and values, you'll notice a gradual but profound shift. External validation becomes less important as you find satisfaction in living authentically. Decisions become clearer as your values provide consistent criteria for evaluation. Even difficulties take on new meaning when viewed through the lens of your larger purpose. This alignment creates a sense of integrity, wholeness, that represents spiritual intelligence in action. The practice of vision and value-led living naturally leads us to our next exploration, present moment awareness. While vision provides direction, true spiritual intelligence requires being fully present to each moment as it unfolds, responding with both clarity of purpose and openness to what each situation uniquely requires. Chapter 4. The Power of Present Moment Awareness. Have you ever driven to your destination only to realize you have no memory of the journey? Or found yourself nodding during a conversation while your mind wandered elsewhere? Our lives often unfold on autopilot, with our awareness trapped in thoughts about the past or future rather than experiencing the only moment that actually exists now. Yet spiritual intelligence fundamentally depends on our capacity to be fully present. Present moment awareness, the ability to bring complete attention to your immediate experience, creates the conditions for spiritual intelligence to flourish. While vision and values provide direction, presence allows you to respond to each situation with fresh perception rather than habitual reactions. This spontaneity represents a remarkable quality of spiritual intelligence, the capacity to meet life directly rather than through the filter of conditioned patterns. The primary obstacle to presence is our habitual thinking and reactive patterns. From early childhood, we develop ways of interpreting and responding to situations based on past experiences. These patterns efficiently navigate familiar territory, but prevent us from seeing new possibilities or responding creatively to unique circumstances. Breaking free requires recognizing when you're operating from old programming rather than present awareness. Notice physical sensations that accompany reactivity, tension, shallow breathing, racing thoughts, as these provide early warning signals that you've shifted from presence to pattern. Cultivating present moment awareness begins with simple practices that anchor attention in immediate experience. Try this brief exercise. Pause right now and take 3 conscious breaths, feeling the sensations of breathing throughout your body. Notice sounds in your environment without labeling or judging them. Feel the weight and temperature of your body exactly as it is. This momentary shift from thinking to sensing immediately brings you into the present moment. Extend this practice by creating regular presence pauses throughout your day. Brief moments when you step out of automatic functioning to notice your current experience. The transition between activities offers natural opportunities. Before starting your car, entering a meeting, or beginning a meal, take 30 seconds to arrive fully in the present moment through conscious breathing and sensory awareness. When facing challenges, present moment awareness offers a revolutionary approach. Rather than immediately reacting based on past experiences or future concerns, create space to perceive the situation freshly. Ask yourself, if I set aside what I think I know about this situation, what's actually happening right now? What possibilities exist that I might not be seeing? This simple shift can transform conflicts, reveal creative solutions, and prevent unnecessary suffering created by premature conclusions. The connection between presence and intuitive wisdom runs deep. Your intuition, that quiet knowing that transcends logical analysis, can only be heard in the present moment. When your attention is consumed by mental chatter about past and future, the subtle signals of intuitive guidance go unnoticed. As you practice presence, you'll increasingly recognize these intuitive nudges as they arise naturally in response to current circumstances. Spiritual traditions worldwide have recognized the transformative power of presence. Buddhist mindfulness practices, Christian contemplative prayer, Sufi remembrance, all point toward the same essential truth. Authentic spiritual intelligence emerges only when we're fully present to our lived experience. While conceptual understanding has value, direct awareness in the present moment provides access to dimensions of wisdom unavailable through thinking alone. The practice of presence doesn't require withdrawing from active life or spending hours in meditation. Instead, it involves bringing quality attention to whatever you're already doing, listening with full attention when someone speaks, experiencing the sensations of routine activities, noticing the natural world as you move through your day. This integration of presence into ordinary activities gradually transforms your experience of life from mechanical repetition to fresh discovery. As present moment awareness becomes more established, you'll notice subtle shifts in your experience. Time seems to expand rather than constrict. Ordinary moments reveal unexpected beauty and meaning. Challenges that previously triggered automatic reactions become opportunities to respond with creative wisdom. This is spiritual intelligence in action, not as an abstract concept, but as lived reality. With the foundation of presence established, we're prepared to explore how this quality of awareness creates access to your inner wisdom, a resource of incalculable value when facing life's most significant decisions. Chapter 5. Accessing Inner Wisdom in Decision-Making. Have you faced a major life decision where logical analysis left you confused rather than clear? Perhaps you created detailed pros and cons lists, consulted experts, and gathered extensive information, yet still felt uncertainty about the right path forward. In these moments, many people instinctively seek a quiet space, a pause from external input, to hear what feels right at a deeper level. This intuitive knowing points to an essential truth. Our most important decisions benefit from accessing inner wisdom rather than relying solely on analytical thinking. When facing difficult choices, your inner wisdom offers guidance that transcends logical analysis alone. Unlike intellectual knowledge, which processes external information, inner wisdom integrates your lived experience, unconscious understanding, and alignment with your deepest values into coherent guidance. This integrated knowing often manifests as subtle signals. A sense of rightness or discord, physical sensations, persistent thoughts, or symbolic dreams that indicate alignment with your authentic path. The challenge lies in distinguishing genuine inner wisdom from other internal voices. Mental chatter, recycled opinions, fear-based thinking, social conditioning often masquerades as intuition. True inner wisdom typically manifests with certain qualities. It feels calm rather than urgent, persists quietly rather than demands attention, aligns with your core values rather than temporary desires, and often arrives unexpectedly rather than through effortful thinking. Learning to recognize these qualities helps you differentiate authentic guidance from mental noise. Creating conditions for inner wisdom to emerge requires developing specific capacities: calm, patience, and surrender. Calm comes through practices that quiet mental activity, meditation, nature immersion, repetitive physical movement, or simple breathing techniques. Try this basic practice. When facing a decision, set aside 10 minutes in a quiet space. Begin with slow, deep breathing until your body relaxes and mind settles. Then pose your question clearly and sit in receptive silence, noticing what emerges without analyzing or directing your thoughts. Patience proves equally essential. Inner wisdom rarely conforms to our preferred timelines. Unlike analytical thinking, which can be accelerated through effort, intuitive knowing often requires an incubation period where the question ripens beneath conscious awareness. When pressing for immediate answers, you're likely accessing your conditioning rather than deeper wisdom. Practice allowing questions to rest within you, trusting that clarity will emerge in its own time. Perhaps most challenging is surrender, temporarily releasing attachment to particular outcomes and control of the process. This doesn't mean abandoning responsibility, but rather creating space for wisdom beyond your current understanding to emerge. Notice how tightly holding specific outcomes creates a narrowed perspective that excludes unexpected possibilities. The paradox of surrender is that releasing control often creates access to more comprehensive intelligence than your effortful thinking can provide. Trusting your intuition requires discernment to avoid impulsivity disguised as inner guidance. True intuition stands up to gentle examination, When you inquire into intuitive signals with curious attention rather than dismissal or blind acceptance, authentic wisdom typically reveals deeper coherence and connection to your values. Impulsivity, by contrast, often collapses under examination, revealing fear, wishful thinking, or conditioned responses beneath its surface. The most effective approach integrates inner wisdom with rational analysis, creating a balanced decision-making process that honors both dimensions of intelligence. Begin with rational analysis to gather relevant information and clarify options. Then create space for inner wisdom to process this information at deeper levels. Return to analysis to evaluate what emerged, refining your understanding. This iterative process creates decisions grounded in both external reality and inner truth. Practical tools can support accessing inner wisdom. Journaling using your non-dominant hand often bypasses analytical thinking to access intuitive knowing. The practice of sleeping on it leverages your brain's unconscious processing during sleep. Embodied techniques like walking meditation engage your body's intelligence. Nature immersion often creates the spaciousness where inner wisdom naturally surfaces. Experiment with these approaches to discover which best support your access to deeper guidance. As you develop the ability to access inner wisdom in decisions, you'll notice a qualitative difference in outcomes. Choices aligned with your deeper intelligence create a sense of rightness that transcends immediate results. Even when facing external challenges, decisions guided by inner wisdom typically lead to growth and alignment with your authentic path, rather than regret or inner conflict. The capacity to access inner wisdom directly connects to the holistic perspective we'll explore next, seeing the interconnections and larger patterns that create context for your individual choices. This expanded awareness represents another essential dimension of spiritual intelligence that transforms how you navigate life's complexity. Chapter 6: Holistic Perspective and Systems Thinking. Have you ever solved a problem only to find it reappearing in a different form? Or achieved a goal that somehow left you feeling empty rather than fulfilled? These common experiences often stem from fragmented thinking, addressing parts without understanding the whole. Spiritual intelligence offers a different approach through holistic perspective and systems thinking. Nature demonstrates this principle beautifully. Consider a forest ecosystem where removing a single species, wolves from Yellowstone National Park, for instance, triggers a cascade of unexpected consequences affecting everything from river patterns to plant diversity. When scientists reintroduced wolves in 1995, they witnessed the restoration of balance across the entire ecosystem. The wolves controlled elk populations, which allowed vegetation to recover, which stabilized riverbanks, which created habitat for beavers, birds, and fish. This natural experiment vividly illustrates how everything exists within interconnected systems where each part influences the whole. Developing the ability to perceive patterns and connections begins with expanding your observational skills. Start noticing relationships between seemingly separate events in your life. When a conflict arises at work, instead of focusing solely on the immediate interaction, widen your lens. How might organizational culture be contributing? What previous experiences shape how you and others respond? What larger social patterns might be playing out in this specific situation? This expanded awareness doesn't replace addressing immediate issues, but ensures you're responding to the actual roots rather than just symptoms. Moving from fragmented thinking to wholeness requires challenging our cultural conditioning. Western education primarily teaches analytical thinking, breaking things into component parts for understanding. While valuable, this approach alone creates artificial separations that don't reflect reality. Eastern traditions have long emphasized the complementary skill of synthetic thinking, seeing how parts combine into integrated wholes. Both perspectives are necessary for complete understanding. Practice asking not just how does this work, but also how does this connect to everything else? This holistic perspective transforms problem solving in remarkable ways. Consider healthcare. Treating isolated symptoms with medications often creates side effects requiring additional treatments. A systems approach instead examines lifestyle factors, emotional states, environmental influences, and physical symptoms as an integrated whole. This doesn't discount conventional medicine, but enriches it with a more comprehensive understanding. Similarly, in your personal challenges, look beyond immediate symptoms to understand the full context. How sleep patterns, relationships, unexamined beliefs, and daily habits might contribute to particular struggles. Several practical exercises can expand your perspective. Try following a single item, your morning coffee, a piece of clothing, a digital device, through its complete life cycle from raw materials to eventual disposal. This simple practice reveals connections typically invisible in our compartmentalized thinking. Another approach involves considering multiple perspectives on a single issue. How might different stakeholders view an environmental policy, a workplace decision, or a family disagreement? This mental flexibility counters the natural tendency to believe your perspective represents objective reality. Perhaps the most powerful exercise involves regularly shifting between micro and macro perspectives. When facing a situation, first zoom in to notice specific details and immediate dynamics. Then zoom out to see broader contexts and longer time frames. How might this current challenge look from the perspective of 5 years in the future? How does your personal situation connect to larger social patterns? This deliberate perspective shifting develops the mental flexibility characteristic of spiritual intelligence. As you cultivate holistic perspective, you'll notice increased ability to anticipate unintended consequences, identify leverage points for meaningful change, and maintain equilibrium amid complexity. Decisions that previously seemed straightforward reveal richer dimensions. Problems that appeared insurmountable show unexpected pathways forward. You'll find yourself naturally asking deeper questions that lead to more sustainable solutions. This expanded perspective naturally leads to a profound understanding of interconnection, not as an abstract concept, but as lived reality. As this awareness deepens, it naturally awakens greater compassion. The heart of spiritual intelligence will explore next. Chapter 7. Compassion and Empathic Understanding. A young neurosurgeon named James Doty encountered a patient with an inoperable brain tumor. Using conventional medical training, Doty explained the situation factually, offering sympathy but maintaining professional distance. As he turned to leave, something prompted him to return. Sitting beside the devastated patient, he set aside his professional persona and simply connected human to human, listening deeply, acknowledging fears, and sharing his own experiences with uncertainty. Years later, the patient told him this moment of genuine connection had transformed his approach to his remaining life. This story illustrates the profound difference between sympathy and true compassion, a core element of spiritual intelligence. Compassion, rooted in the Latin to suffer with, represents a fundamental quality of spiritual intelligence that transcends intellectual understanding or emotional reaction. Unlike sympathy, which offers concern from a distance, compassion involves entering another's experience with both awareness and care. It's not merely feeling for others, but feeling with them while maintaining the clarity to respond helpfully. This combination of connection and clarity distinguishes compassion from both detached analysis and emotional overwhelm. The distinction between sympathy and true compassion becomes clear through their different impacts. Sympathy often creates separation. I feel sorry for your situation. That subtly reinforces difference between the observer and sufferer. Compassion creates connection. I recognize our shared humanity in this moment of suffering. That acknowledges fundamental kinship. Sympathy often leads to quick solutions to relieve discomfort, while compassion has the courage to remain present even when immediate solutions aren't available. This capacity to stay present with suffering without becoming overwhelmed represents emotional maturity central to spiritual intelligence. Developing compassion begins with self-compassion, extending the same care to yourself that you would offer a beloved friend facing difficulty. Many people find self-criticism comes more naturally than self-compassion, believing harshness motivates improvement. Research contradicts this assumption, showing self-compassion actually strengthens resilience and motivation while reducing procrastination and defensive reactions. Practice self-compassion through a simple 3-step process when facing challenges. Acknowledge suffering. This is difficult. Recognize shared humanity. Others also experience this. And offer kindness to yourself. May I be gentle with myself through this. As self-compassion develops, it naturally extends to others through deepening empathic understanding. While cognitive empathy involves intellectually understanding another's perspective, emotional empathy involves actually feeling similar emotions. Both contribute to compassion, but must be balanced. Too little empathy creates disconnection, while too much can lead to emotional exhaustion. Develop balanced empathy by practicing deep listening without immediately formulating responses, intentionally imagining others' experiences beyond your immediate circle, and regularly exposing yourself to diverse perspectives through literature, travel, or meaningful conversations across difference. Compassion transforms relationships by creating psychological safety, the foundation for authentic connection and growth. When people feel genuinely understood without judgment, defenses naturally relax, allowing for honest communication and mutual learning. This doesn't mean avoiding difficult conversations or boundaries, but approaching them from connection rather than opposition. Practice compassionate truth-telling by sharing perspectives with both honesty and care for how your words impact others. Similarly, receive feedback with openness rather than defensiveness, recognizing that criticism often contains valuable information when you can hear beyond delivery style. Beyond individual relationships, compassion transforms communities by recognizing how systems affect well-being. Structural compassion moves beyond individual acts of kindness to address conditions that create suffering. When facing social issues, practice expanding your concern beyond those immediately visible or similar to yourself. Ask whose voices aren't being heard, how systems might inadvertently perpetuate difficulties, and what changes would create more equitable conditions for all. This systemic awareness represents spiritual intelligence applied to collective well-being. Maintaining compassion during conflict presents particular challenges, yet offers profound rewards. When triggered by disagreement, our natural tendency involves self-protection through judgment, defense, or withdrawal. Compassionate response requires practicing what Buddhist teacher Pema Chodron calls staying with the heat, remaining present with discomfort while continuing to recognize shared humanity. Practice pausing during conflict to reconnect with compassionate intention, listening for underlying needs rather than focusing only on positions, and remembering that difficult behavior often stems from unrecognized pain rather than malice. As compassion deepens through consistent practice, you'll notice a gradual dissolution of the artificial boundaries between yourself and others. This growing recognition of fundamental interconnection naturally leads to the next dimension of spiritual intelligence, transcending the limitations of ego-based identity. Chapter 8: Transcending Ego Limitations. Imagine standing at the edge of the Grand Canyon at sunset. As golden light illuminates ancient rock formations stretching toward the horizon, something shifts in your perception. Your usual concerns, deadlines, disagreements, daily pressures momentarily recede as awareness expands beyond your individual storyline to something vastly larger. You experience a profound sense of connection with something beyond your separate self. This transcendent moment offers a glimpse into a fundamental dimension of spiritual intelligence, the capacity to recognize reality beyond ego limitations. Transcendental awareness involves identifying dimensions of existence that extend beyond our conventional sense of separate selfhood. This aspect of spiritual intelligence allows us to recognize our connection to something greater, whether conceptualized as nature, humanity, consciousness, or divine presence. This expanded identity doesn't negate individuality, but contextualizes it within a larger whole, much as a wave exists both as distinct formation and as inseparable from the ocean. Understanding the nature of ego and its limitations provides essential context for transcendent awareness. The ego, our constructed sense of separate identity, serves important functions in navigating practical life. However, exclusively identifying with this limited self-concept creates unnecessary suffering and restriction. Ego consciousness typically operates through comparison, creating artificial hierarchies of better/worse. It maintains identity through separation, emphasizing differences rather than commonalities. It preserves continuity through storytelling, constantly narrating experience to reinforce established self-image. While these functions help organize experience, mistaking this conceptual self for our entire identity severely limits our potential. The limitations of ego-based consciousness become apparent in common experiences. The endless striving for validation that never quite satisfies, defensive reactions when self-image feels threatened, anxiety about future outcomes beyond control, and the subtle sense of separation that persists even amid achievement and connection. These limitations stem not from personal failure, but from the inherent restrictions of identifying exclusively with a constructed self-concept rather than the awareness in which that concept appears. Various practices facilitate experiencing states beyond ordinary ego consciousness. Meditation, particularly approaches that shift attention from thought content to awareness itself, allows direct recognition of the witnessing presence that precedes specific identifications. Try this simple practice. For 5 minutes, notice thoughts arising without following their content, maintaining gentle awareness of the conscious space in which thoughts appear. With consistent practice, you'll begin recognizing that your essential nature is this awareness itself rather than particular thoughts about who you are. Nature immersion offers another pathway to transcendent awareness. Spending extended time in natural settings, particularly with intentional receptivity rather than goal-oriented activity, often dissolves the sense of separation between observer and environment. Creative expression, when approached with presence rather than self-consciousness, similarly creates access to flow states where separate selfhood temporarily recedes. Sacred music, contemplative reading, and service to others also provide contexts where ego boundaries naturally soften, revealing deeper dimensions of identity. As transcendent awareness develops, you'll discover increasing freedom from fear-based thinking. Most fears ultimately concern protecting or enhancing the separate self, reputation, security, control, achievement. Recognizing identity beyond ego naturally reduces these fears' grip without requiring struggle against them. This doesn't create recklessness, but rather response based on wisdom rather than reactivity. You'll find yourself making decisions from a broader perspective that considers not just personal benefit, but wider impacts and deeper values. Maintaining transcendent awareness during everyday activities represents the practical application of this dimension. Rather than reserving expanded consciousness for special circumstances, practice bringing this awareness into ordinary experiences. While driving, notice the vast sky above traffic concerns. During conversations, remain aware of the shared consciousness beneath different viewpoints. When working, recognize how your efforts connect to larger purposes beyond personal achievement. This integration transforms daily life from mechanical repetition to sacred participation. A common misconception equates transcending ego with eliminating individual expression. Authentic transcendence doesn't negate uniqueness, but reveals it as distinct expression of shared essence. Like different instruments in an orchestra contributing unique sounds to a unified composition. As poet Mary Oliver expresses it, you do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. The capacity to recognize identity beyond ego limitations creates natural resilience when facing life's inevitable challenges. From transcendent perspective, difficulties appear not as absolute catastrophes, but as temporary conditions within a larger context. This awareness provides the foundation for our next exploration, transforming adversity into growth through spiritual intelligence. Chapter 9. Transforming Adversity into Growth. Viktor Frankl, psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, observed something remarkable during his imprisonment in Nazi concentration camps. Amid unimaginable suffering, certain individuals maintained their humanity and even found meaning in their ordeal. Others, sometimes those who had enjoyed privilege and comfort before imprisonment, quickly surrendered to despair. The difference, Frankl concluded, wasn't physical strength or fortunate circumstances, but the capacity to discover meaning even in extreme adversity. This profound observation reveals a fundamental aspect of spiritual intelligence, the ability to transform life's difficulties into catalysts for growth. Spiritual intelligence includes the capacity to learn and grow from mistakes, setbacks, and suffering rather than being diminished by them. This alchemical quality doesn't minimize genuine pain or suggest adversity is always beneficial. Instead, it recognizes that our response to difficulty significantly determines its ultimate impact on our lives. While we cannot control many circumstances we encounter, spiritual intelligence, it provides the capacity to find meaning, learning, and even grace within challenging experiences. Reframing challenges as opportunities for growth begins with shifting perspective from "why me" to "what now?" The first question, though natural during difficulty, often leads to circular rumination without resolution. The second acknowledges reality while opening possibilities for response. This shift doesn't require positive thinking that denies genuine pain, but rather what psychologists call tragic optimism, the capacity to maintain hope and meaning even while acknowledging life's genuine hardships. Consider applying this perspective shift to a recent challenge you've faced. Without minimizing difficulties, ask yourself, what qualities or capacities have developed through this experience? What previously unquestioned assumptions have been revealed for examination? What new directions or possibilities have emerged that might not have appeared otherwise? These questions don't erase hardship, but place it within a larger context of ongoing growth and evolution. Finding meaning in suffering represents perhaps the most profound application of spiritual intelligence. Research confirms Frankl's observations that perceived meaningfulness significantly affects how people weather adversity. 3 distinct types of meaning can emerge from difficulty. Cognitive meaning, understanding gained. Creative meaning, response to circumstances. And attitudinal meaning, stance toward unchangeable conditions. Even when you cannot find explanatory meaning for why something happened, you retain the capacity to create meaning through how you respond. Developing resilience through spiritual perspective involves cultivating particular qualities and practices. Presence, fully experiencing current reality rather than resisting or avoiding it, creates the foundation. Author John Kabat-Zinn notes, "You can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf." Spiritual perspective adds depth to this metaphor, acknowledging that while you may not control the waves, you could develop the capacity to navigate them with increasing skill and even appreciation for the ride. Connection provides another essential dimension of resilience. Western cultures often emphasize self-sufficiency, yet research consistently shows that meaningful connection with others significantly enhances resilience. Spiritual intelligence recognizes the deeper truth that we exist in fundamental relationship rather than isolation. During difficulty, practice both receiving support, often challenging for independent people, and maintaining awareness of how your experience connects you with others facing similar challenges throughout time and place. Practical techniques for transforming negative experiences begin with compassionate presence. allowing feelings to exist without suppression or exaggeration. Many spiritual traditions emphasize this foundation through practices like mindfulness meditation, contemplative prayer, or body awareness techniques. These approaches create space around difficulty rather than becoming completely identified with it. From this spaciousness, you can respond with wisdom rather than reactivity. Narrative reframing provides another powerful tool for transformation. The stories we tell about our experiences significantly shape their impact. Practice noticing your current narrative about challenging situations, then explore alternative interpretations that might be equally valid while creating more possibility. This doesn't mean fabricating false positives, but recognizing that multiple perspectives always exist. Ask yourself, how might I tell this story 5 years from now? What interpretation would my wisest self offer? Meaning-making practices support transformation through actively engaging with difficulty rather than passively enduring it. Journaling allows exploration of emerging insights and changing perspectives over time. Creative expression, through art, music, movement, or writing, often accesses wisdom beyond analytical thinking. Service to others facing similar challenges transforms personal pain into compassionate action. Each approach converts potential isolation into connection and potential stagnation into growth. Perhaps most importantly, transforming adversity requires patience and self-compassion. Growth rarely proceeds in straight lines, and transformation often involves cycles of progress and regression. Honor your own unique process without comparison to idealized expectations. Small, consistent steps create more sustainable change than dramatic but unsustainable efforts. As you practice these approaches, you'll develop increasing confidence in your capacity to meet life's difficulties not as threats to avoid, but as invitations to evolve. With this understanding of how adversity can catalyze growth, we've now explored the essential dimensions of spiritual intelligence. Our final chapter addresses the crucial question of integration. How to weave these principles into a coherent practice that transforms daily life. Chapter 10. Integrating spiritual intelligence in daily life. Imagine living each day guided by your deepest wisdom rather than habitual patterns or external pressures. Picture responding to life's complexities from centered presence rather than reactivity. Envision making choices aligned with your authentic values, even amid conflicting demands. This is an idealistic fantasy, but the practical possibility that emerges through integrating spiritual intelligence into everyday experience. The ultimate goal of spiritual intelligence isn't conceptual understanding or occasional transcendent moments, but practical application in ordinary life. The principles we've explored, self-awareness, present moment attention, inner wisdom, holistic perspective, compassion, transcendent awareness, and transformative resilience, create their greatest impact when woven into the fabric of daily existence. This integration transforms spiritual intelligence from abstract concept to lived reality. Creating daily rituals that nurture spiritual intelligence provides essential structure for this integration. Rituals, intentional practices performed with consistency and meaning, serve as bridges between insight and embodiment. Morning practices prove particularly powerful in establishing the day's foundation. Consider creating a brief but consistent morning ritual that might include a few minutes of meditation to establish present awareness, journal reflection on a significant question or value, conscious intention setting for the day ahead, or contemplative reading that inspires deeper perspective. Similarly, transitional rituals between activities help maintain continuity of awareness throughout the day. These need not be elaborate. 3 conscious breaths before entering a meeting, a moment of gratitude before meals, brief awareness of purpose before beginning a task. Evening rituals support integration through reflection and renewal, perhaps reviewing the day with gentle awareness, noting moments of alignment and learning opportunities, or consciously releasing the day's events before sleep. The specific practices matter less than their consistent implementation and meaningful intention. Balancing contemplation with action represents another essential aspect of integration. Spiritual intelligence doesn't separate spiritual activities from ordinary life, but recognizes that all experience offers opportunity for awakened engagement. Rather than compartmentalizing meditation or reflection as separate from active life, practice bringing the qualities developed in contemplation, presence, compassion, holistic awareness, directly into engagement with the world. Similarly, allow your active experiences to inform contemplative understanding rather than maintaining artificial separation. This balance manifests differently across individual temperaments and life circumstances. Some naturally gravitate toward contemplation and benefit from more active engagement. Others tend toward constant activity and need intentional stillness. Neither approach is inherently superior. The key lies in complementary balance. Notice your natural tendency and consciously cultivate its complement. A parent with limited quiet time might practice brief moments of presence throughout caregiving activities. A person living alone might balance meditation with community engagement. Applying spiritual intelligence to specific life domains creates tangible transformation. In work life, beyond technical skills and strategic thinking, spiritual intelligence offers additional dimensions. Finding deeper purpose in daily tasks, bringing present awareness to interactions, approaching challenges with creative resilience, maintaining perspective during conflicts. Rather than compartmentalizing work self from authentic self, practice bringing your whole being to professional roles while respecting appropriate boundaries. In relationships, spiritual intelligence transforms interaction from transaction or habit to authentic connection. Practice deep listening that attends to the person beyond their words. Approach differences with curiosity rather than judgment. Recognize how your triggers and reactions reflect your own conditioning rather than others' inherent flaws. Bring conscious awareness to relationship patterns that typically operate automatically. These shifts don't require relationship restructuring, but rather bringing fresh attention to existing connections. Major life decisions particularly benefit from integrated spiritual intelligence. When facing crossroads, create space for holistic discernment that includes rational analysis, emotional awareness, intuitive guidance, and alignment with deeper values. Notice how different dimensions of intelligence provide complementary insights. Analytical thinking clarifies options. Emotional intelligence reveals important values and concerns. Intuitive wisdom suggests directions that might not emerge through analysis alone. Integration doesn't favor one mode over others, but weaves their contributions into coherent guidance. Measuring growth and progress on your spiritual journey requires appropriate metrics rather than conventional achievement standards. Notice qualitative shifts in your experience. Do you recover more quickly from emotional triggers? Has your perspective expanded beyond immediate concerns? Are you responding to challenges with greater resilience and creativity? Has your capacity for genuine presence in relationships deepened? These subtle, yet significant changes often precede external life changes and represent authentic development of spiritual intelligence. Document your journey through regular reflection that notes both insights and applications. This documentation creates valuable perspective by revealing patterns and progress that might otherwise go unnoticed. Consider creating quarterly reflection points to review how spiritual intelligence principles have manifested in your life, what challenges have arisen, and what adjustments might support continued integration. The path of integrating spiritual intelligence follows a natural progression. Practice becomes habit, habit becomes character, and character becomes natural expression. What initially requires conscious attention gradually becomes your authentic way of being in the world. This doesn't mean perfection or uninterrupted enlightenment, but rather a fundamental shift in your relationship with experience. From reactivity to responsive presence, from fragmentation to wholeness, from separation to connection. As we conclude our exploration of spiritual intelligence, Remember that integration represents not the final destination, but the ongoing journey of bringing your deepest wisdom into lived expression. The principles we've discussed find their fulfillment not in perfect understanding, but in moment-by-moment application amid the beautiful complexity of human life. Spiritual intelligence represents our highest human capacity, the ability to access wisdom beyond ordinary thinking and connect with deeper dimensions of existence. Throughout this audiobook, we've explored key principles that allow you to recognize and develop this innate intelligence within you. From self-awareness that reveals your authentic nature to present moment attention that grounds you in direct experience. From inner wisdom that guides important decisions to holistic perspective that reveals interconnection. From compassion that transforms relationships to transcendent awareness that expands identity. From resilience that converts adversity to growth to integration that embodies wisdom in daily life. These dimensions together create a comprehensive approach to awakening your spiritual intelligence. These principles aren't abstract theories, but practical capacities available to everyone regardless of background or belief system. They represent not exotic abilities, but the natural flowering of human potential when given appropriate attention and cultivation. The practices we've explored don't require withdrawal from ordinary life, but rather bringing fresh awareness and deeper engagement to your existing circumstances. Remember that activating your spiritual intelligence isn't a destination, but a continuous journey of growth. Begin by incorporating one principle that resonates most strongly with you, perhaps starting with self-awareness practices or present moment attention. Small, consistent steps create more sustainable transformation than ambitious but short-lived efforts. As you practice consistently, you'll notice subtle shifts in your perception, decisions, and relationships. Changes that might initially seem minor, but collectively transform your experience of life. Implementation emerges naturally from genuine understanding rather than forced discipline. When you truly recognize how present awareness enhances your experience, maintaining attention becomes less effortful. When you directly experience how compassion transforms relationships, it increasingly becomes your natural response. Each principle reinforces others. Self-awareness deepens present attention, which clarifies inner wisdom, which expands perspective, creating an upward spiral of development. The most profound application of spiritual intelligence remains remarkably simple yet transformative. Loving with greater awareness, living with deeper purpose, and responding to life's challenges with wisdom rather than reactivity. These qualities don't require dramatic outer changes, but rather shifted perception that transforms your experience from within. Even amid unchanged circumstances, you'll discover greater freedom, connection, and meaning through accessing the intelligence that has always existed within you. May the principles in this audiobook serve as a compass guiding you toward your highest potential, not as distant ideal, but as lived reality. The journey continues with each conscious breath, each present moment, each compassionate response. The power to transform your experience has always been within you, waiting only for recognition and cultivation. That journey begins anew with each moment you choose awareness over automaticity, connection over separation, wisdom over reactivity. Thank you for joining us for Spiritual Intelligence, the hidden power within you. I hope these principles and practices support your journey toward greater wisdom, purpose, and authentic living. If you found value in this audiobook, please subscribe to Audiobook's library for more transformative content delivered directly to you. Stay tuned for our upcoming audiobook. Until then, may your journey of spiritual intelligence bring you clarity, purpose, and profound inner peace. Remember that the wisdom you seek has always been within you, waiting only for your attention and commitment to bring it fully alive in your daily experience.